Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. What you see in the vise is a fly called the Profile Booby. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H230 barbless hook. This one's at size 10 and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Simplify. It's the Nano Silk at 50D or 12/0 if you prefer, and as you can see, it's a black silk. Now, as always with the nano silks, I like to get a spot of super glue onto the shank of the hook. Doesn't need to very much, but you do need this to help bed the nano silk in. Wax just doesn't cut it. So what I want to do is get a bed of thread or silk, as I'm using here, down the shank of the hook, and I can finish that approximately where a barb would be on a barbed hook, and we can take away the rat's tail. Now for the rib of this fly, I'm going to be using some mirror tinsel. It's pearl at 0.8 millimeters, and I've already got a little piece that I've been working away with here. As you can see, it's just a nice pearl tinsel. I want to catch this in at the end here, and I'll just get a few wraps onto it to secure it into place. Now the next thing then is the body. Now you can choose for yourself what you'd like to use African goat seals for. Today I'm going to be using some trout stalkers, and this is red possum. It's quite a coarse sort of material, not quite as coarse as seals fur, and you want to maybe pull out the longer hairs. As you can see, it's a nice claret colour. Now this fly came from the ACA Masterline team back in the day, and it's a great fly. It's a kind of combination between a cormorant and a hopper, and obviously the added bonus of the booby eyes. Now before I start dubbing on my dubbing, I'm just going to add a little wax, and then I can bring the dubbing up to the thread and dub it on. It dubs a lot more easily than seal's fur. I've got to say, seal's fur can be a bit of a bugger, but I do think seal's fur is probably the best for buoyant flies. So get that body on, and I'm going to pause it just there, and I can see I've caught a little bit on the tip of my hook point. I can just take that away. Now before I bring my pearl rib up, I'm going to just tease out some of this dubbing. Now a lot of this will disappear once I bring the pearl rib back up, but because I've eased it out now, it'll be easier to pick out once I've brought the rib up. Now this is a very strong material, and I'll probably get away with not putting any adhesive on, but I'm a belts and braces sort of bloke, so I'm going to add a touch of super glue to the side of the pearl lurex that's going to go onto the body. Doesn't take much, and it'll just make your fly last that bit longer whilst you're out fishing, depending on how successful your day is, of course. I want to get approximately 3 turns of the pearl lurex onto the body, and then as you come round with the 4th turn, you're catching that onto the shank of the hook, and that's going to be hidden later on. A couple of turns in front and you're good to take away the remainder of your rib. Again, holding on to your thread, come in now, just ease out them fibres from between your pearl rib. And we'll just brush them backwards a bit. And that's looking pretty good, gotta say. Okay, next I'm going to invert my vise. And what I'm going to do is use some pre-knotted pheasant tail legs. So these ones are ideal. They come from Simplify, little section of pheasant tail that's been dyed claret in this case, and all the legs have been knotted for you. And if you've got old eyes like me, or you're just bone idle, also like me, you can use these. So what I want to do is take off maybe half a dozen. Just pull them off the stalk, and then what you want to do is roughly split them. Well, no, you can actually split them 3 each side, if you can see what you're doing. There we go. Managed to wrestle them apart, and as you can see, I've got a nice even spread of them. Now they're quite long, these ones, so what I'm going to do is tie them in quite close to the first set of knots. They're double knotted. I'm going to bring them either side off the hook, and then I'm going to get a couple of light turns just to see how they're sitting, and I just want them a bit closer to me. Just ease them back. Because I didn't clamp down with my thread, I was able to pull them through. So next I can really get them tied into place. A couple of turns in front of the legs, and then we can nip in. And again, that's looking pretty good. It's not dissimilar to a hopper up to this stage, but what we're going to add next is completely different. So the ACA guys, I think they used brown marabou in the wing. I don't have any brown marabou available, but what I do have is some Trout Lines pheasant marabou feather, and it's kind of a browny colour, or as near to brown as I've got available to me at the moment. It's a lovely feather, nice and delicate. Going to get lots of movement from this. So I'll just get rid of that strand that was hanging loose, and what I want to take is from the tip of my thumb to my knuckle. Although it seems like a lot, because the feather's so fine, it's not really that much. You can see there, once that's wet, it'll just disappear. Now I want to try and keep the tips. That's where you're going to get all that nice movement. And then I'm going to lay it up, and I want it to come just past the butt section here. So I've got that pretty much where I'd like it. Catch it on like so, and then I can come in and remove the excess. Now it's a little longer than I would have liked, so I'm just going to cock it up, come in and remove the tips, which is dead easy. Quite fragile at the tips. And I'll just get my toothbrush on that, see if I can separate the feathers out. And I'm fairly happy with how that's looking. Okay, next then we're going to add some booby eyes. Now I use these long tubes and cut them down to create a tic-tac like this. Now if you're unsure of how I've managed to get to this stage, I have done another video which I'll pop up in the information bar. You might want to have a look at that after you've finished watching this video. So when I do it, I stick a bodkin needle in the middle, and I use this as a guide when I'm putting my thread on. And that generally gives me nice even booby eyes from the get-go. Then what I can do is come down to the front of the fly, and slowly bring the eyes up till they'll sit naturally on the top. And once I've got them there, I want to go over in a figure of 8 motion, and I tend to do 4 or 5 turns on each eye. Excuse my fingers. I think this fly first came to prominence for us as a team, the Army team, when it was spotted in Trout Fisherman magazine, and I think it was Rob Edmonds that had done an article, and obviously we picked it up and we used it to great effect in the inter-services that year. So I've just finished that off in front of the eyes, and what I like to do with all my booby patterns actually is to finish off, I like to come in with some super glue just in between the eyes. I'll just cock the vise my way so I can see what I'm doing, and that will soak through into the thread, and then invert my vise, and I like to get a little bit at the bottom. And if you take the time to finish this properly, the booby eyes just stay right. I've seen a lot of shop bought boobies where after 1 or 2 fish these eyes are all over the place and the fly becomes completely useless. So take the time to finish the booby eyes correctly and you'll catch countless fish on this fly. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.